Morning, Sarah. How are you doing? Thank you all for coming. Wanted to welcome everybody to the Planning and Development Committee. Call this meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Has everybody had time to look at the agenda? Any late additions? Can I have a mover for approval of the agenda? Deb Heap. Seconder, Ian Bailey. Councillor Bailey. Sorry. Okay. Recommended that the Planning and Development Committee meeting agenda for January 18th be approved and circulated. Adoption of the minutes, approval of the minutes, recommended that the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee held on January 4th, 2023 be adopted. Everybody had time to look at those? All look good. Can I have a mover? John, seconder, Deb Heap. Thank you. Okay, Scott, we're going to do the development service update.
And I think the first thing is the scheduled meeting. So I just thought I'd put them out there so everybody can know where to look for them. Council meets the 2nd and 4th. And so we're meeting the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month. And then in September, there's UBCM is that week. So council will be away. So we thought we'd cancel that meeting. So only have one in September. It's still flexible. If we have an urgent issue, we need to hold an emergency planning and development meeting. It's possible. And if, you know, in the summer or at some point in the year in December or something where there's not a lot happening and people would rather spend time elsewhere, then we can always cancel a meeting. So, but yeah, this is the schedule as it is, and all meetings starting at 9 a.m.
Great, great. Anybody have any questions?
No more, just a comment. Like, I mean, in the summer, if we could even condense it, if we don't have that much, that would be great. I know that would help out everybody in the summer when we're all busy, especially me. But I think other people are in that boat too. But, you know, I guess just depend on whatever the workload is. I'm totally, schedule looks good to me. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you very much, Scott. Okay, we'll move through into applications. I guess that's you again, Scott.
So yeah, the ones in bold are the ones we're looking at today. Then a couple of these we can knock off because the new zoning bylaw was adopted. So Mervyn Road and 802 miles. So that was a rezoning application for Sycamore houseboats. So the new zoning should take care of that. So
Take care of it.
knock that
Excellent.
off.
Yay!
510 Thompson, that was for the bioheat in the industrial park, so we can probably remove that one. And then 50 Old Town, so that's, you know, Old Town out by Twin Anchors Marina. So the zoning, the new zoning bylaw should take care of the rezoning they applied for, so we can get rid of those three. Couple of them still hanging on, Northern Court, so property didn't change hands, but the person who wants to develop that property, the owner now wants to develop it. They probably don't need, they're not going to make any changes outside the building, so it probably won't need a permit. So we're still kind of waiting for them to make a decision. A couple of them can come off. No. Okay, so yeah. So 22-341, yeah, that was a zoning amendment, so the new bylaw should take that one as well. So be a little bit shorter list next time we see it.
Well, that's good. Anybody have any questions? Good. Scott, just I want on the bottom ones, the completed applications, just out of curiosity, as you get down. And not that it matters, as you get down, some are issued, some are approved, some are issued. Would they all just turn to approved or like issued, meaning it was issued, but they didn't go ahead? Or
Yeah,
does it matter? I don't know.
I don't think it matters. They're probably just,
I just haven't updated this, that's all. Gordon.
Oh.
And I will do it for a year.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was just curious, the difference, what's the difference between it?
Like approved would be council approved it. Sometimes we have two recommendations, we might say, and council will follow that. Our, advice. So something might be approved, but it won't be pending a certain condition that needs to be met first.
Okay.
There'd be a covenant of that. But yeah, in this case, it doesn't really mean anything.
So issued is better than approved then?
Yes.
Now, good question, because I didn't realize that, so.
Okay, oh, that's great. Okay. All right, no other further questions?
Oh, maybe just one. What's our current processing time for just a simple, straight up fairly permit?
well, to Old Town, I mean, when did we receive that one? In 1444.
Just before Christmas, we didn't do anything with it, but we started working on it right away. Got back. Had a couple things they need to get to us and we scheduled dates. It depends on what kind of notification requirements there are. So sometimes, it might push the date back as to when council sees it because we have to do a notification process first ahead of time.
But on the staff end, we're talking weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah, okay.
Usually we tell people 3 to 3 months kind of, but
Right.
we can usually get them done. If it's simple, complete, it's really the notification and the timing of the meetings that slows us down, but a month probably is be accurate.
Yeah, and the reason I asked is I just want a benchmark for how fast we move versus other levels of government too. Because I haven't quite let that bone go yet, because we're doing some really good work here. You guys are doing some really good work getting this through, and then there's other levels of government that are clogging up the pipeline. I do think, maybe we can talk about that later on in the meeting about some of the things that we could do, or maybe we can bring it back to another meeting, just because I constantly hear of these issues around town. And I don't think it's an issue on our end. It's an issue on more senior level government then.
Thanks, Ian, and I can add to that. We talked about that at the last council meeting. Kelly and Scott have been working on SILGA resolutions. We'll probably look at maybe, because it is, especially the foreshore, the waterfront properties is very, very confusing. I mean, confusing for QEPs, confusing for staff, really confusing for a homeowner that's trying to do something. So yeah, we're going to work on that, and it might, we're not the only community. It's like all the communities are really struggling to, especially if you're on the waterfront. The timing is, when they say 8 months, and you're lucky if you can get something back from the provincial government in 8 months, so it takes time. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Scott. Okay, new business. Development variance permit 1444 Silver Sands Road. Okay, we have a recommendation that the Planning and Development Committee recommend council to authorize and issue a development variance permits number 22-338 DVP for the property legally described as lot 32, district lot 452, Kamloops Division Yale District Plan 19182, located at 1444 Silver Sands Road, to vary Sycamore zoning bylaw number 1000/2022, section 3.5, 6BBI, floor area of the second dwelling from 40%, which is 70.8 square meters, to 47.5%, which is 84 square meters, for development of an accessory building and coach house. And that the Planning and Development Committee recommend the council to authorize the issuance development permit number 23014 development permit for the property located at 144 Silver Sands to permit the development of accessory building and coach house. I have a mover. Ian, seconder, Deb. Okay, any, Scott, you want to give us an update before discussion or is this?
Dave.
Okay.
So this is for a variance permit and a development permit application. The property is located at 1444 Silver Sands and the owner wants to construct an accessory building with garage storage on the main floor and then coach house on the upper floor. So because this property borders the Sycamores Lagoon, we are requiring a watercourse development permit. The subject property is designated as a residential low density according to the official community plan. And then it is zoned as R1, 1 and 2 unit residential according to our new zoning bylaw. And coach house is a permitted accessory use within that zone. And then so in the site plan, the total square meter is 84 meters squares, but it is required to be 40% of the main dwelling. So the agent has applied for a variance permit to increase the floor area of the accessory building. This is a 3D view of the proposed accessory building, and that's the site photos. So the agent has submitted a riparian area assessment report, which was developed by a qualified engineering professional, and they have submitted to the province. We're waiting for a response from the province right now. So within the report, it states that the proposed dwelling is outside the SPIA. So the SPIA identified as 15 meters. So the proposed building is outside that. And then it talks about sediment and erosion control and also stormwater and monitoring during and after construction. So that's an update regarding the report. I've attached the development permit application, like the draft permit, and I've attached the report with the permit as well, just for your reference.
Okay, great, thanks, Stephanie. Anybody have any questions?
Just a quick one. So even though this coach house, through the chair, of course, even though this coach house is beside a road on a lot that's already developed, they have to go through Flynn Row, which will take 7 to 8 months for them to get approved for us to issue this permit. Is that correct?
That's so when I checked, they did previously, I was just looking at the history of the existing building. They have applied for a variance in 2018 for extending that deck, which is this one here. But they don't have a development permit on.
No, I was talking more about the riparian area.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't submit anything for that, but now for this development, we are requiring, and that's why.
Right, yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair. I guess my point is, we just got done talking about how stupid some of this stuff is, or at least I'm talking about how stupid it is. I mean, it's a site that's already developed. It's beside a road. And here we have regulations that are going to, draw out this process unnecessarily, where there is absolutely no impact. I mean, the site's developed. I mean, the riparian area has already been impacted. So they have to go through this again to figure out the obvious, right? And so this is one of the things that we talked about at council. I mean, there's regulations and some regulations, and this one falls into a category of exceedingly stupid regulations. And that's it. I just want to point this out because it's a really good example of where the site, we're not talking, when we talk about riparian areas, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue against that we have to protect it. But when there's actually already a site fully developed, and this is by the road, not even by the the lagoon, then for this person to wait 7 or 8 months is just exceedingly stupid. And I think the more we call this stuff out, I think the better. And maybe the province will have to consider how to make these things a little more smart.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Kelly, do you have a comment?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, maybe Scott can explain why, like related to your question about the riparian areas, why this is a BVP, but no DP, right? Because we're kind of working around that.
Right, so the variance is for the size of the building, and because it's within, like, this is the 30-meter mark. Anything that happens and, you know, it's like you dig a hole, you cut down a tree, you put in a shed, you need to go through that process. So this is the 15-meter mark and they're outside of that. So their QEP came up with that's what the offset is, the SPIA. But I mean, the QEP could have said it's 30 meters. You know, obviously it's not going to be, but you know, you could get a report that comes back and says, so if there's a giant tree here that provided shade to the water, I mean, that could influence fish habitat. So this, you're right, this is one that, yes, there's nothing there. But it's this area, right, is that they are concerned about. And if you look at the photo, you know, you can see a big tree there. So if someone wants to take that tree down, that could have a really big impact on fish habitat. But yeah, again, this one is one of those ones where you're, you know, why do they require it? And it's probably, you know, it'd be nice if we had some flexibility where we get the report and it's obvious. But right now the province, I guess, necessarily doesn't, you know, doesn't trust local government or doesn't trust QEPs that they're doing all they can. So that's why we're in this process. Maybe eventually we'll get somewhere else, but yeah, this is what we're doing. So I think we're recommending both these be recommended to council. Council will probably see the DVP at the next council meeting, but we'll wait for the development permit till we get that approval from the province. And hopefully it works with the timing of their construction.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Yeah,
Yeah, so just, I guess, a comment. So from what I understand, then we're kind of short cutting this part of the process by dealing with it now because we can't deal with the other, but at least we're adding some efficiencies by, you know, getting this done in advance.
Right. And I think the DVP just, you know, that requires the notification and then, you know, it'll signal to the owners that, hey, council wants to see this go forward. We're still working with you. I mean, we could wait until we get the report back from the province, but then we'll just.
Yeah, that just adds time.
thanks, Deb.
Yeah, so I just gonna say, I agree totally with Ian, but I commend you guys for doing something to shorten the process, so.
And Scott, can you just quickly explain, so everybody's clear of the notification requirements of a DVP versus a DP? Because this is kind of weird. We're issuing a variance for development without actually issuing the development's permit yet. And so we don't normally do that. We normally do them together, or we issue the DP and the DVP after. This is reverse. So I just wanted, so everybody's clear of what is required for notifications.
But development permits, you don't need to notify. They're in the OCP and they're basically, it's like the OCP, here are the conditions. So the public should know, hey, if my neighbor's doing something, then they're meeting the conditions, so you don't need to notify. With the variance, you know, you're varying the bylaw, so your neighbor's like, hey, I understand the rules. If you're changing them, I want to know. So the DVP requires notification 10 days prior to council considering it. We notify all the property owners within 50 meters to let them know that if your neighbor's looking to do something different. We always tell people, talk to your neighbors, do that first.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to get is a letter from the district. You're surprised by it, so
Do we advertise in the paper too, or just notify?
just notify.
Thanks, Scott. That's great. That's good. And I think maybe, you know, this is the timing is right. Maybe we should monitor this and just kind of keep track of the date the application started, the date that, you know.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The dates they sent their QEP report to the province, if we can get that. And see how long it takes for the province to come back. You know, you never know, we might be surprised. But it would be good to keep track of this application and just see how long it takes and.
And I think was submitted December 19th,
Mhm.
their QEP report.
To Flynn Row.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's good. Okay, any more discussion? Right, if we don't have any more, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Deb and Ian? Great, everybody, I guess. Everybody's in favor. Great, thank you. All right, moving on. Okay, we have another development variance permit for number 2 Old Town Road. And staff are recommending that council authorize the issue of development variance permit number 23005 DVP to vary the minimum required interior setback for 2 decks from 1.7 meters and 2.55 meters respectively for the development legal, for the property legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 135, Kamloops Division Yale District Plan 27978, located at number 2 Old Town Road. Okay, Sarah, is this one yours? Okay, Sarah's gonna give us a staff report.
Okay, so location. So this one is located next to this big panhandle, which is colloquially as 0 Old Town Road. Doesn't actually have an address. So the owner actually owns both. And it's actually a group of owners that are currently undergoing a subdivision process for this big one up here. They purchased this little guy to help address their access issues to get up in the back here. It's very steep. So they did remove the old park model trailer that was there. And this is all, I don't know if you've been out there recently. Slide, please. So the official community plan designation is rural, that's the yellow. And the zoning under our new bylaw is country residential, CR. It's same as it was before, it's a little bit different though. So what they're proposing, which is there already, is this 3-story building that's built into the bank of the slope. They've got 2 decks on the 2nd story. So there's one that runs across the front of the building facing Old Town Road. And there's one on the side that isn't connected, but it's at the same level. So both of these decks, next slide, need variances. So under the original CR zone, they wouldn't have needed one of the variances. One. The way the old CR zone worked was there was a 2-meter setback minimum with a total of 5. So for this one, they still would have needed it. They're just a little out. The new zone has a 3-meter setback because of some of the changes in the uses. It's a bit bigger. So here we are. They just need variances for the corners. So it's this post and then the post. Next slide. You can see it again here on the house. You see one. This guy here and that guy there, and it's quite nominal because they do own the property next door. It's a panhandle that they're actually varying setback to. There's not going to be any buildings there. So their rationale, what their explanation was, is so they did submit a site plan originally that met the setbacks with their building permit. They ended up changing it. They kind of pulled the building kind of away from the lot line, part of it, to try to not impact what's going on at their neighbors. So there's a bit of encroachment here. It's kind of come over the lot line and they just wanted to be good neighbors and not create issues. So this is why they need the variance. These buildings in this, I'm not sure what that is.
Shed.
We'll call it a shed. Next slide, please. And here's staff's recommendation. Questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Discussion, anybody else have any concerns? No? Oops. Everything's good? Okay, all in favor? Harry, thank you very much. All righty, okay, moving on. Business license and regulation amendment bylaw number 1027/2023. That the Planning and Development Committee recommend to the District Sicamous Council to adopt the business license and regulation amending bylaw number 1027/2023 as presented. Scott, are you going to take this on?
I can take this on. Thank you. So this is with the new zoning bylaw being adopted and has new regulations for short-term rentals. So we're looking to update the business license bylaw. So it's clear that what's required prior to a business license being issued. I think we did talk about this last week and not a lot has changed. But so it would be a pre-inspection evaluation safety audit checklist. So that's kind of a checklist just to make sure that well, for the homeowner, when they're filling out the application, they know what's going to be required. So when the fire department shows up for their inspection, they're not surprised. A floor plan and precedent of the premises, identifying smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, fire exits, and each bedroom. An off-street parking plan. So the new zoning bylaw requires one parking spot for each bedroom. So we have a drawing showing all the bedrooms, then we have an off-street parking plan. We can make sure they have the parking required. Contact details for a responsible person. So that's somebody that is available to respond within an hour to any concerns if the neighbors have an issue with someone renting the space. Proof of registration for the MRDT, sales tax and MRDT. So one of the goals of that we wanted to have was to kind of level the playing field for regular tourism operators. So makes sense to have short-term rental operators contribute to the MRDT, which then goes to promoting sick moose and stuff. So the reason people want to come here and get short-term rentals is because they know about sick moose and see what's offered. So have them contribute to that as well. We're asking for a list of booking platforms, other means of advertising the short-term rentals. So that's just so we can monitor someone's putting it on Facebook or something. We can go and we can look, we can see what they're advertising. They're not saying, hey, it's 16 people and park wherever you want. It's advertised for what they're allowed to do. And then here, this one, evidence of the satisfaction of the license inspector that the short-term rental business is not prohibited by a bylaw enacted under the BC Strata Property Act. We made one small change. I think it was approved, and we changed to not prohibited. Figure that's a little bit better language. It might be more difficult to say, hey, look, here's evidence that it's approved, as opposed to not prohibited. Short-term rental license must list the following information on booking platforms. So this is just, again, so we just make sure they're advertising for what they're allowed to do. Again, the name of the local responsible person. Then the short-term license is good standing will be made on public district short-term rental map and the contact information for the local responsible person. So hopefully someone does have a concern and they can find it on the map, local responsible person. They're calling that person. They're not calling our bylaw officer. And then we're asking for the names and license plate numbers of people who are staying there. And this is just kind of to cover us if, we're getting multiple complaints and we see vehicles there all the time. We can say, hey, give us the names of who's staying there. Then we can go, like the bylaw officer can go and check them and say, yeah, these people are staying there and they're parked on the street. We have an issue. Then we're having a look at the fees as well. So a fee that reflects the cost of the district to implement this. I have heard from some people recently concerned about the timing of an inspection. So right now we have Brett does the inspections. So they're like concerned, hey, what happens if you have 80 people apply all at once? Are you gonna be able to process them? I think we'll be good with processing. Brett has 2 deputies, a deputy fire chief and a captain that also can do inspections. We have our chief building official, he'll be able to do inspections, and then probably John, our bylaw officer, and I could probably be trained to be able to do the inspection. So I don't think we're gonna have a big backlog of people. We're looking, right now we use programs called City Reporter for building permits. It's kind of all online. Building inspector goes out with an iPad, he can click off everything, reports are submitted immediately. So we're probably gonna move towards that. Brett wants to move to that for all his fire inspections, so we can incorporate that, and then we get our business licensing on that. So I I don't think we're gonna have this big backlog where people are waiting for their approvals. Right now, I think we have about 24 short-term rental applications. Some of them we have issued because they were legal at the time. The easy ones, I've already been in touch with them. I said, these are the new rules. This is what you need to do. Some of them, I think I've issued a couple already because people have applied and have provided everything. But yeah, we have, I'll say the easy ones that, they already have their strata papers, they already have their drawings. So we're working with them to get those ones issued. And then we do have some that, we're waiting for more information. And some, the challenges, I think for most of them are, for one in particular is going to be the strata. And I think it's just the parking seems to be like people are like, oh yeah, I have lots of parking. And it's like, no, you have to show us where you're parking and the size of the parking. But I think we're working through it, and these will just enable us to often people, where is it in writing? Well, here's where it is in writing. And then, the next step is the fees, where we can make sure that we're covering our costs of providing the service. And now staff's recommending that this committee recommend to council that the business license regulation bylaw be amended, and it'll likely go to council at the next council meeting.
Great, thanks, Scott. Just so I get this right, did I ask for a mover and a seconder? Yeah, no. Okay, can I have a mover for this recommendation? Deb Beat, and seconder Ian? Okay, now discussion. Deb?
Oh, you go first.
Just the fee part. So you don't have to figure out the fee part as part of this recommendation to council, or how, like.
Yeah, it is a separate bylaw. We're looking at $265.
Okay.
So right now, the business license fee is $95. And then for short-term rentals, it'll be $265.
Okay, so just love, so just saying, loving the fact that it's going this way instead of the zoning.
Yeah, good question there, Deb.
I just have a couple of questions. Please call me Ian. So did I hear correctly? It's one parking per bedroom?
Correct.
So I could see a couple of issues with that just off the top of my head, because you could have kids in a bedroom. Why did you come up with that standard?
Yeah. And so it's 2 adults per bedroom. So if you're advertising, you can only advertise 2 adults per bedroom. And we're like, kids can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Number of children. I think it's just because typically people who are renting a place, like if it's a couple, 2 people, 2 adults, they're probably going to come up in a vehicle. There are people who are going to, 4 people are going to get in their F-150 and drive up. But I think it's just makes a lot of sense to have that one vehicle per bedroom.
Based on feedback, like we had a lot of open houses and talked to a lot of people, like our short-term rental open houses were very well attended. And we had also done a survey as well, looking at it, and that was overridingly one of the biggest complaints, put it in, say, our single family neighborhoods, is just there's not enough parking, and talking about the number of people that would be in a building and really wanting to have some kind of restriction to help alleviate that issue of parking as well as.
Right.
Further to that, it's pretty common. If you look at other communities who regulate, that's standard.
Yeah, no, I was just going to point out that if you get into condos, right, you might have a 3-bedroom condo and only 2 parking spots. So rather than, I'm wondering if it's too rigid, and I'm wondering if it's not going to give you some latitude to actually go, okay, that's common sense. Like you have a 3-bedroom unit, you got 2 spots. We're pretty good with this, right? And then proceed. So I guess my next question is, if they don't actually have, say it's a 3-bedroom, they got 2 parking spots, are you able to go, okay, that makes sense, I'm comfortable with it, and proceed?
I would say we probably won't do that. I know I have had questions where people actually rent a spot somewhere else. So, if Red's Rentals, they actually rent a spot that extra spot. So I think we'd be flexible if you can show us that you're renting an extra spot somewhere else. Some of them, you know, they say, oh, we have these many visitor spots. So I think if, you know, we're in touch with the strata, like a smaller strata, and they're like, hey, there's this many spots, this is how we're gonna allocate them, then maybe we'll be flexible, but we'll want something showing us that they have a right covered parking spot whenever they're renting them out for each bedroom.
And further to that, you could advertise, even though it's a 3-bedroom, if you advertise for 2.
Pardon me?
If there was a 3-bedroom, but you only advertise for 2 of the bedrooms, right? So then that could work as well. Not that anybody would, but there is an option, you know?
Okay.
And Matt, you've been.
But we are requiring license plates and names at this point as well, right?
So we're only gonna do that, we have the right to ask for that,
Right, that's for it.
but hopefully we'll need that if we see issues.
Because you definitely, and coming into condos is definitely gonna be a huge issue, because if you have 3 condos in that one building that all have rental of 3 bedrooms, there's only usually 2 visitor parking spots. So you can stick to that, but in their advertising, could they have it advertised as a 3-bedroom, but only 2 parking spaces and only 2 cars are allowed? Is there like a way that
So I think
that type in there as well?
and so
I see the renting another parking spot as well, but then, you know, it's just the commuting back and forth, getting shuttling people becomes a little bit of an issue.
I think there's a potential to vary the bylaw for someone. Like if they can demonstrate that they're a responsible owner and business. You know what I mean? Potential, but it would all come down to what their business license does, right?
Yeah, and I guess if you had complaints, steady complaints about the one unit,
Yeah, you can both.
tighten it up. And most places also have extra parking, like, I mean, you know, the Narrows, people park out front on Riverside, or, you know, people do, you know, they do park out front. They do have public parking out front of most places.
But that wouldn't suffice for what we're talking
No.
about here. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, I can see us having these common sense, like, oh, you're getting caught up in a regulation, right? You know, you have 2 parking spots, you have like 3 bedrooms, let's say at the Legacy. And 2 could probably suffice for that to run like perfectly well without any parking impacts. Like if there was a parking impact, that's different. And what I'm suggesting to staff is give yourself some latitude in those regulations, so it doesn't become one of these things where you have to say to people that, oh, we can't do it because this doesn't fit into this little box that we just made. I think, especially when it comes to condos, I mean, it's quite common for a 3-bedroom to have 2 parking spots. So there might not be a solution to that. So what I'm trying to say is this might actually become a bigger issue and hinder, you know, people who actually want to comply with the rules just because they couldn't find another parking spot. But 2 would be perfectly fine in terms of managing that flow. So I'm just wondering if this 1 parking spot per bedroom is just way too prescriptive to not give you enough latitude to say, hey, yeah, this makes sense. This will be fine. I checked with the condo, everything's fine. I'm just wondering if you should build a little bit of latitude in there for yourself, Scott.
What do you think?
I'm pretty comfortable, like I've seen the applications and I'm pretty comfortable with 1 bedroom, 1 parking spot per bedroom. But again, I think if someone can demonstrate, hey, we have a spot rented at Red's Rentals, or, you know, there's this many units, there's this many visitor parking spots, and if the strata is like, hey, we're okay with these people using it, then we'll work with them. Yeah. People always have the opportunity with business licenses, if they're denied, to come to council as well. So there's the.
I think that's my point. Kind of what I'm getting. And just one more question. So the fire inspection, is it like, are we gonna have a commercial standard for these buildings, or what does the fire inspection look like on Airbnb?
I would imagine I don't know if there's like a commercial residential standard. It's probably the use.
Very, very different, yeah.
And it's the fire department, and they'll inspect it for fire code. I know, I believe it's either building code or fire code requires if there's more than one family in a like a duplex or a bedroom suite, the fire smoke detectors need to be connected, go off at the same time. And you know, my house, we have that, and if I'm burning the toast upstairs, my wife hears it while she's watching TV in the basement, right? So that's what is required. But other than that, I would say most houses are gonna be able to meet it. Like we're talking fire extinguishers, fire exits. When people are coming to a place they're not familiar with, there should be a sign saying fire exit. There should be a sign saying this is where the fire extinguisher is. But yeah, I think it's not gonna be, they're not gonna have sprinklers or.
They're not gonna have the exit signs and other things like that, the illuminated ones that we have to have in commercial places.
Right, I don't think it would require that, but on our drawing, we're gonna ask to have them labeled. And then when the fire chief goes to do the inspection, he can say, okay, I can see it's a clear door that way. If it's like, that looks like a bookshelf, then yeah, he's probably gonna ask for something else, right?
Right, okay.
Okay, good with that, Ian?
Yeah. Good.
Well, good comments, all good comments. That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have any more discussion? Looking forward to getting this, passed. I just had one question about the, Kelly provided us with the, strata, consent form. Would you want to have that part of the bylaw or?
Yeah, I think we saw I think it was a news article from Kelowna. We snagged their form and
Yeah,
get it branded.
But we're not gonna embed it in the bylaw. What we've seen in the past is sometimes when you embed an application form within a bylaw, then when you need to change it, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So we're keeping the bylaw a little bit more vague, if you will, and then we'll have the form that's saying this is our consent. So it won't be actually embedded within the bylaw, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
okay, great. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Scott. Okay, if no more discussion, all those in favor? Carried. Great, thank you very much. Well, that went pretty quick. Anybody, I guess we don't have anything else? Good, everything's good?
Yeah.
Okay, I recommend that the Planning and Development Committee meeting for January 18th, 2023 be adjourned at, 9:23.
Right? It's 43.
9:43,
9, or, yeah, what did I say?
23,
That would have been a real quick.
close enough.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Deb and made the motion, Ian seconded it. All those in favor? Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just so damn excited. The zone